Hello students, welcome to time classes. This class is limits, continuity and differentiability. Handout code is QAHO 3571728. I hope everybody has the correct handout. Now, limit of a function. What do we mean by limit of a function? Let y is equal to fx be a function of x and let a be any real number. A limit is the value a function approaches as the variable within the function, usually x, gets nearer and nearer to a particular value. That is, when x is very close to a, then what is the value of function is very close to a value. That's called limit. X is very close to a certain number, then what is fx very close to? Now we denote this by limit fx x tends to a is equal to L. Let fx be a function of x where x takes values closer and closer to a. Then fx will assume values nearer and nearer to L. X takes values closer and closer to a, fx takes values closer and closer to L. Hence we say fx tends to the limit L as x tends to a. The following are some of the simple algebraic rules of limits. If you wish to find a limit of a function which is multiplied by a constant, then you have to multiply the value of the limit of the function with that constant k, that is k times limit fx x tends to a. If you wish to find limit of a function which is sum of two different function or difference, then individually find the values of limit of the two function and apply the sign plus or minus as stated in point second. If you wish to find limit of two functions which are in product, which are given as a product form, then find their individual limit values and multiply them. So limit of fx gx when x tends to a is as good as limit of fx x tends to a multiplied by limit of gx x tends to a. Fourth, limit of fx upon gx where gx is a function in the denominator, both tending x tends to a is equal to limit of fx x tends to a in the numerator upon limit of gx x tends to a in the denominator, but only condition is when x tends to a, gx should not be equal to 0. That is, denominator should not become 0. So we can apply these simple algebraic rules of limits. If it is multiplied by a constant, keep constant on the left hand side and evaluate the limit of the function. If it is a sum or difference of two different functions, then find the value of the limit and then use the corresponding sign in between plus or minus. If it's a product of two different functions, then individually find the value of the limit at x tends to a, and whatever value of the limit you get, just multiply the two values. And if it's given as fx upon gx and you want to find limit x tends to a, then individually find the values and keep value of the limit fx in the numerator and gx x tends to a in the denominator, provided gx should not be equal to 0. If the left hand limit of a function is not equal to the right hand limit of a function, then we say limit does not exist. If the function on at a point a on tending from left hand side gives different value than the value which you obtain on tending to a from right hand side, then we say the limit of the function does not exist. Second, a limit equal to infinity is not the same as a limit that does not exist. These are two different entities. A limit equal to infinity is not the same as a limit that does not exist. Now, evaluation of limits. First, we should know what are indeterminate forms. 0 upon 0. infinity upon infinity, 0 to the power 0, infinity to the power 0, 1 to the power infinity, infinity multiplied by 0, or infinity minus infinity. These are indeterminate forms. So how do we evaluate the limits? So we have different methods of calculating limits. First is method of substitution. Second, method of factorization. Third, method of rationalization. We rationalize the numerator or denominator as required. Fourth, problem based on standard forms. Standard formula based, we use this method. Fifth, when we have to solve trigonometric limits. Sixth, limits at infinity and infinite limits. And seventh is L'Hospital rule. So we'll be discussing all the methods one by one with suitable number of examples and questions from the handout. We use these methods to find the value of the limits. So first is method of substitution. So we move to method of substitution first. It says evaluate limit x tends to 3 and expression is 3 into x minus 2 whole square plus 5. Now we have to evaluate the limit. If we directly substitute x equal to 3 in this expression, we get the value of the limit, because this expression is not showing any indeterminate form mentioned before. So we simply put x equal to 3 in the expression. That's called method of substitution. So 3 bracket 3 minus 2 is 1, 1 square is 1 plus 5. So 3 into 1, 3 plus 5 becomes 8. So what is the value of the limit as x tends to 3 is 8. We directly obtain this through method of substitution. If the expression is showing none of the indeterminate forms, we directly substitute the value of x in the expression and obtain the value of the limit when x tends to 3. We take another example. We have to evaluate this limit when x tends to 2. On putting x tends to 2, denominator is not becoming undefined. This expression is entirely defined. So we directly substitute the value of in place of x as 2. So it comes out to be under root 2 square is 4, 4 minus 3 is 1, plus 5 becomes 6 in the numerator, and 2 minus 5, that gives minus 3 in the denominator. So it comes out to be 6 upon minus 3. So we can say its value comes out to be minus 2. Value comes out to be minus 2. So this process is called method of substitution. We directly substitute the value of x in the expression. Method of factors. Let's take an example on this. It says evaluate limit when x tends to 2, x4 minus 16 upon x cube minus 8. Once you put x equal to 2 in the numerator, it becomes 0, and in the denominator it becomes 0, which is an indeterminate form, 0 by 0. So we cannot use method of substitution. So we try to factor the given expression, numerator as well as denominator. Now numerator x4 minus 16 can be broken into two brackets, x square minus 4, x square plus 4. We use a formula a square minus b square is equal to a minus b multiplied by a plus b. And in the denominator it's x cube minus 8, that is x cube minus 2 cube. So we use a formula a cube minus b cube is a minus b bracket a square plus ab plus b square. So we break this expression, numerator become x square minus 4, x square plus 4, x minus 2, x square plus 2x plus 4. Still now denominator contains x minus 2, which on substituting x equal to 2 becomes 0. and numerator also contains x square minus 4. So we factorize it one step further. We write x square minus 4 as x minus 2 multiplied by x plus 2 bracket x square plus 4. And then the denominator we have x minus 2 multiplied by x square plus 2x plus 4. Now since x is tending to 2, x is not equal to 2. So x minus 2 value is not 0. It tends to 0. Now this bracket which is common in numerator and denominator cancels out. It moves out. So we left with a value x plus 2 x square plus 4 in the numerator and x square plus 2x plus 4. And we substitute the value of x as 2. Since x minus 2 in numerator and denominator has been removed, so remaining part we put x equal to 2. So it gives us 2 plus 2, 2 square plus 4, second bracket, upon 2 square plus 2 into 2, 4 plus 4. So 4, it comes out to be, when we simplify this further, this expression comes out to be 4. 2 square 4 plus 4 is 8. In the denominator it's 4 plus 4 plus 4, that is 12. So value comes out to be 8 by 3. Value comes out to be 8 by 3. That's the value of the limit at x tends to 2. So we factorize numerator and denominator and remove that common factor which is making an indeterminate form. So we remove that part. Question 1 of the handout. It says limit x tends to 3. What is the value of x square minus 5x plus 6 upon x square minus 2x minus 3? So we'll be using the same. On putting x equal to 3 in the numerator, 9 plus 6 15 minus 15. Numerator becomes 0. 3 square in denominator, 9 minus 6 minus 3 is again 0. So it's an indeterminate form. We cannot go for substitution at this stage. So we try to factor the numerator and denominator. So when we factorize the numerator, it becomes x minus 3 into x minus 2. And when we factorize the denominator, it becomes x minus 3 bracket x plus 1. Now this x minus 3 common part in numerator as well as denominator will cancels out. So when it cancels out, we are left with x minus 2 upon x plus 1. Now on substitution of x equal to 3 in the given expression, we are not getting indeterminate form. So we simply substitute it in the x equal to 3. So 3 minus 2 is 1 and 3 plus 1 is 4. So we get our answer is 1 by 4. And if we carefully look at the choices, we had our choice as choice A. So in this, first we see whether we are getting an indeterminate form or not. If we are getting an indeterminate form, so in this case we apply method of factors. We factor the expression, cancel out the part which is giving us an indeterminate form, because x is tending to 3. So x minus 3 is tending to 0. So we remove that part, and in the remaining expression we put simply value of x, that is x equal to 3. And on putting x equal to 3, numerator become 3 minus 2, that is 1, and denominator become 3 plus 1, that is 4. So we get our value as 1 by 4, which was given as choice A, option A. I hope this is clear. Now we move to method third. It is method of rationalization. What do we mean by method of rationalization? Let's understand this through an example. We have to evaluate limit of this expression x is tending to 1. Now if we put x tending to 1 in the denominator, denominator becomes 0. And x tending to 1 in the numerator, in place of x, it becomes 1 square is 1 plus 1 plus 7, that is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. So 3 minus 3 is also 0. So on putting x tending to 1, we are getting an indeterminate form, 0 by 0. So what we do, we rationalize this expression. So we multiply conjugate of the numerator, under root x square plus x plus 7 minus 3. Conjugate is root x square plus x plus 7 plus 3 in the numerator as well as denominator. Technically we had multiplied only by 1 because these two values are same. But we had multiplied by conjugate of the numerator. And then we use a formula, a minus b multiplied by a plus b. So a minus b multiplied by a plus b gives me a square minus b square. So in the numerator, that square root goes out, it becomes x square plus x plus 7 minus 3 square. Minus 3 square is 9. And the denominator, these two x minus 1 and root term got multiplied. They become the two different brackets. Now further solving the numerator, we factor the numerator expression x square plus x minus 2. When we factor this expression, this comes out to be x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 2. So it's x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 2, and the denominator we had x minus 1 multiplied by root x square plus x plus 7 plus 3. Now we can safely say x minus 1 is the common part which cancel out from the numerator and denominator, because this bracket is giving us indeterminate form. So x minus 1 cancel out from numerator and denominator, and we can safely substitute value of x as 1 in the remaining expression. So we cancel out x minus 1 and substitute the value of x equal to 1 in the remaining expression. So once we cancel out x minus 1 and we substitute x equal to 1, in the numerator we get 1 plus 2. In the denominator we get under root of 1 square is 1 plus 1 plus 7, that is root 9. Root 9 is 3 plus 3. So in the numerator we are getting 3. In the denominator we are getting 6. So we are getting 3 by 6. And we can safely say 3 by 6 is nothing but 1 by 2. So we get the value of the limit when x tends to 1 as 1 by 2. So we remove the part which is giving us indeterminate form through rationalization, because there was a term there in the expression root a minus b. So we multiply it by its conjugate root a plus b in the numerator and denominator, and simplified the expression till we remove the part x minus 1 from numerator and denominator, as the limit is tending x tends to 1. This method is called method of rationalization. So we get value of the limit as x equal to 1 by 2. I hope this is clear. Now we take question 4 from the handout. It says we have to evaluate limit x tends to 4. Expression is root x plus 5 minus 3 upon x minus 4. If we substitute x equal to 4 directly in the expression, denominator becomes 0, as well as numerator 4 plus 5 becomes 9, root 9 is 3, 3 minus 3 becomes 0. So we are getting an indeterminate form 0 by 0. So we cannot substitute x equal to 4. So we try to go for a rationalization method. We multiply by conjugate of the numerator in the numerator as well as the denominator. So root x plus 5 plus 3 in the numerator upon root x plus 5 plus 3 in the denominator, technically we multiplied by 1, but actually we multiplied by conjugate. So root x plus 5 minus 3 and root x plus 5 plus 3, we applied a formula that is called a minus b multiplied by a plus b. So a minus b multiplied by a plus b gives us a square minus b square. So in the numerator it becomes x plus 5 minus 3 square, which is 9. And in the denominator we had x minus 4 as one bracket, and second bracket is root x plus 5 plus 3. Now we can put x equal to 4 directly at this time also in the second bracket in the denominator, because it is not giving us any indeterminate form. But it's one step away. X plus 5 minus 9 is x minus 4, and x minus 4 is a term which cancel out from numerator and denominator, as it is common in both the terms. So can we say x minus 4 upon x minus 4 is common under root of x plus 5 plus 3. Now this term has to get cancel out in the numerator as well as denominator, and then we can simply substitute the value of x equal to 4 in the remaining expression. Remaining expression remains is 1 upon root x plus 5 plus 3, and when we put x equal to 4 in the expression, it becomes 1 upon root 4 plus 5 plus 3. 1 upon 4 plus 5 is root 9. Root 9 is nothing but 3. So we got 1 upon 3 plus 3. 1 upon 3 plus 3. So in the denominator we got our value as 6. So overall value is 1 by 6. Now just look at the choices. We had option 1 by 6 as well as 6. So our answer is 1 by 6, which is given as option A. We had our option as option A. Our answer is option A. Moving further, we move to method 4. Problem based on standard form. Till now we have done method of substitution, method of factorization, method of rationalization. Now we come to fourth method that says problems based on standard form. So problem based on standard form, whenever an expression is written in the form limit x tends to a, we have to find the value of the limit x to the power n minus a to the power n upon x minus a. X to the power n minus a to the power n upon x minus a. And on putting x equal to a, we know it's an indeterminate form, 0 by 0. So it's a result based. We got the value of this expression as n a to the power n minus 1. Just note the expression, it's x to the power n minus a to the power n upon same denominator, it's x minus a, and x is tending to a. Whenever this form is there, we can safely write its value, final value is n constant, which is a to the power n minus 1. So let's do certain example on this standard form. We are taken first example is x cube plus 27. 27 is safely 3 cube upon x plus 3. But if we look at our formula, standard notation mein, there is a minus sign in between. Can we say x cube plus 27 upon x plus 3, and x is tending to minus 3. X is tending to minus 3. So we write this expression 27 as minus of minus 3 cube and x plus 3 as x minus of bracket again minus 3, because when we open this x bracket it will become the same expression. Just to convert this into a standard form. So x cube plus 27 is minus of minus 3 cube, and denominator x plus 3 can be written as x minus of minus 3. Now what do we have? Can we relate with the standard formula given above? Yes, we can say n is 3, a is minus 3. So we write this as 3 minus 3 to the power 3 minus 1, which is 2. Now minus 3 square is 9, and 3 into 9 it becomes 27. So we get our value as 27. So if we are finding directly, we can apply standard form result. So we will apply the result. What the condition is, x is tending to a, x to the power n minus a to the power n upon x minus a is equal to n bracket a to the power n minus 1. So we convert x cube plus 27 upon x plus 3 in this form by writing x cube minus of minus 3 cube upon x plus 3 as x minus of minus 3. So here in this case a comes out to be minus 3 and n is 3. It matches with standard form result. So we get our answer as 3 bracket minus 3 square, that comes out to be 27. So we move to question 18 of the handout. It says fx is x square minus 9 upon x minus 3 for x not equal to 3, when x is not equal to 3. And f3 value is k. If f is continuous at x equal to 3, then the value of k. Continuous function has the same value, f3 equal to k. So when x is not equal to 3, it also tending to 3, it also has the same value. So we have to evaluate this limit x tends to 3. We know f3 is equal to k. So we have to find limit x tends to 3, and if this also comes out to be k, then we say the function is continuous. So limit x square minus 9 upon x minus 3 when x tends to 3 equal to k. On putting x equal to 3, we know it's an indeterminate form, 0 by 0. So we have to factorize the numerator. We can factorize the numerator, and this value should be equal to f3 for the function to be continuous. Since given function is continuous, left hand limit should be equal to right hand limit, that is which is equal to function value at 3. A basic assumption which we take because function is given as continuous function. Now it says x square minus 9 is 3 square upon x minus 3. X is tending to 3. If we use the standard result, we know its value comes out to be given as k. But this value is 2, 3 to the power 2 minus 1. In the standard result formula, a is 3, n is 2. So it's n a to the power n minus 1. So this comes out to be 6. So we can safely say the value of k comes out to be 6 for the function to be continuous. So what we have done in this question, f3 is given as k. So we find the value of the limit at x tending to 3 by using the standard result. And standard result is x ki power n minus a to the power n upon x minus a when x tends to a is nothing but n a to the power n minus 1. So we find the value of the limit and put it equal to the value of the function at x equal to 3. The value of the limit at x tends to 3 by using the standard result comes out to be 6. So we put the value of this 6 equal to k for the function to be continuous. And we have to mark it among the choices. So we had our choice as choice D, option D. So we use a standard formula to find the value of this limit and equate it to the value of function at 3 so that function becomes continuous. Let's move to question 2 of the handout. It says if limit at x tends to 1 of x square minus 1 upon x minus 1 is equal to limit x tends to k, x to the power 4 minus k to the power 4 upon x square minus k square. We have to find the value of the k. One thing is for sure, the left hand side of the expression, is in the standard form written as we have used before. Right hand side, we will try to convert it into the standard form. And we have to give the value of k. Now two options gives us unique value and two options gives two values each, plus minus are there. So limit of x square minus 1 upon x minus 1 is given as left hand side x tends to 1, right hand side x tends to k. This is given as x4 minus k4 upon x square minus k square. Now we know left hand limit is power is n is 2, a is 1, 2, 1 to the power 2 minus 1 is 2. Left hand limit value comes out to be 2. Right hand side of the limit, we just, as x is tending to take k, so x is not equal to k, so x minus k is not 0. We convert this into standard form by dividing x minus k numerator as well as denominator. So x4 minus k4 upon x minus k, limit x tends to k upon x square minus k square upon x minus k, limit x tends to k. Now we use a simple algebraic expression also. We have to find the limit of the numerator upon denominator. So we find separate limits and divide them. By doing this, we converted them to a standard form, which we explained just above. Now we will apply the form standard result n a to the power n minus 1. Here a value is k. So numerator becomes 4 k to the power 4 minus 1 and denominator becomes 2 k to the power 2 minus 1. So moving further, we say it's 2 equal to 4 k cube upon 2 k. 4 k cube upon 2 k. K and k cancel out. K cancel out from k cube. So numerator it's k square and 2 also cancel out. So now we can safely say that 2 is equal to 2k square. 2 is equal to 2k square. Now 2 is equal to 2k square. So we can say value of k square comes out to be 1. Now if k square is equal to 1, so we get two values of k. K comes out to be plus 1 or minus 1. So we use the same standard result to find the value of the limit. Left hand side was written in the form of a standard result. Right hand side we right, we do one step, we divide by x minus k, numerator as well as denominator, to write in the standard form. So in this manner, we convert this part into the standard formula and get the value of the limit. X to the power n minus a to the power n upon x minus a, when x tends to a, value is n a to the power n minus 1. So we use the result, apply to the right hand side also, left hand side also, and then we get a simple equation, 2 is equal to 2k square. So 2 is equal to 2k square implies k square equal to 1, which gives us k as plus minus 1. So k value is plus minus 1. So if we look at the choices, our choice comes out to be choice D. Yes. Now let's try one more question. Question 3rd of the handout. It says you have to evaluate limit x tends to 0, 1 plus x to the power 6 minus 1 upon 1 plus x square minus 1. Here x is tending to 0 and the bracket contain x plus 1. We can do it by factorization also. But let's try to convert this into standard form. First we want to convert this into standard form. So limit 1 plus x to the power 6 minus 1 upon 1 plus x square minus 1, x tending to 0. So can we say if x is tending to 0, so 1 plus x is tending to 1. If x is tending to 0, so 1 plus x is tending to 1. So we can say 1 plus x to the whole power 6 minus 1 is the numerator and 1 plus x whole square minus 1 is the denominator. We divided the entire expression by 1 plus x minus 1, 1 plus x minus 1 numerator as well as denominator. Indirectly we divided by x because x was tending to 0, x was not equal to 0, and then add plus 1 and minus 1 in the denominator just to replicate the standard form. So if you look at the expression in the numerator, we have to find the limit of the two function fx upon gx. So what we do, we find limit of fx in the numerator as well as limit of gx in the denominator and then divide the value of the limit. We are using a basic property and we replicate this into standard form. 1 plus x to the power 6 minus 1 upon 1 plus x minus 1 whole upon 1 plus x square minus 1 was given, we divide by 1 plus x minus 1. So now both of these forms are replicating the standard form. Here 1 to the power 6 is 1. So here a is 1, power is 6, n is 6. So we can get the value, and on putting 1 plus x tends to 1, it leads to an indeterminate form 0 by 0, which we are also getting. So we use the standard result in the numerator as well as denominator. So it's 6, 1 to the power 6 minus 1, that is 1. And 2, 1 to the power 2 minus 1. 1 to the power 2 minus 1 is again 1. So question becomes very simple if we apply the standard form. If we factorize the expression, it becomes lengthier one. Can be done by that method also. But we simply try to replicate into the standard form. So 1 plus x to the whole power 6 minus 1 was the numerator and 1 plus x whole square minus 1 was the denominator. So we divide numerator and denominator by x and then add plus 1 and minus 1. So we replicate the standard form and then find the limit by using the standard result, x to the power n minus a to the power n upon x minus a, when x tends to a, is nothing but n a to the power n minus 1. Here a was 1 in the numerator as well as denominator. So it comes out to be 6, 1 to the power 6 minus 1. Then denominator 2, 1 to the power 2 minus 1, that will lead to 6 by 2, and 6 by 2 is nothing but we can safely say it's 3. So we get the value of the limit as x equal to 3. Now if we look at the choices, we get our choice as choice D is the answer. So once we convert into the standard form, the question becomes simpler, easier for us. So we directly convert and then apply the result. It's advisable if you see a standard result, apply that instead of expanding the brackets, doing factorization and then cancelling out the term. Now method 5. What method 5 is? It says trigonometric limits. How do we evaluate trigonometric limits? Now limits of trigonometric functions can be evaluated by using standard limits given below. Suppose it says x tends to 0, sin x upon x. If we directly substitute x equal to 0, it's 0 upon 0, but x is tending to 0. So we use this result, limit x tends to 0, sin x upon x is 1. Please remember, whenever you find this expression, sin x upon x, when x tends to 0, answer is 1. Limit is 1. Then second, limit x tends to 0, tan x upon x, when x tends to 0 is also 1. So second result which is to be remembered, tan x upon x when x tends to 0 is 1. Sin x upon x when x tends to 0 is also 1. So we use somewhere in parts between questions also. Third, cos x minus 1 upon x when x tends to 0. Cos x minus 1 upon x, whenever this expression is given, cos x minus 1 upon x, when x tends to 0, its value comes out to be 0. Proof can be done in a similar manner. Just write the expansion of sin x or tan x or cos x in the form, and then you will take the common terms out and you get your answers clearly. Because on putting x equal to 0, rest of the term vanishes. So if we put the expansion of sin x, tan x, cos x, we can get their result also. But we can remember the result. Sin x upon x when x tends to 0 is 1. Tan x upon x when x tends to 0 is 1. Cos x minus 1 upon x when x tends to 0 is 0. Moving further, limit x tends to 0, sin ax upon x. It's an extension of 1. We multiply by a in the numerator and denominator. A is a constant. Then sin ax upon ax when x tends to 0. So ax will also tend to 0. So sin ax upon ax when ax tends to 0 becomes 1. So we had 1 a in the numerator left. So answer comes out to be a. So whenever sin ax upon x is given, x tends to 0, we write it value as a. We'll be using this expression when we'll be solving the questions. Then we had one more, sin ax upon sin bx. It's another extension of the same point number 1. X tends to 0, sin ax upon sin bx. X tends to 0. Now how do we get the result? We divide numerator and denominator by x. Because x is not equal to 0, x is tending to 0. Then it becomes point number 4. And we evaluate the limit of the numerator and denominator. So we get the value as a by b. So straight away when we are solving this in question, we will directly apply the results. So sin ax upon sin bx when x is tending to 0, its value is a upon b. Sin ax upon x when x tends to 0, its value is a. Cos x minus 1 upon x when x tends to 0, its value is 0. Tan x upon x when x tends to 0, its value is 1. And sin x upon x when x tends to 0, its value is also 1. So let's apply these 5 basic formulas we have written. Results should be remembered. Let's take an example. It says you have to evaluate limit x tends to 0, sin 3x cos 2x upon sin 2x. Sin 3x cos 2x upon sin 2x. So we write this limit sin 3x upon sin 2x into cos 2x. Now it's a product of two different functions. So we can calculate their limits separately and get the values and multiply them back to get our answer. Can we say its limit sin 3x upon sin 2x and limit cos 2x. In the both the case x tends to 0. Now first part, since sin 3x upon sin 2x when x tends to 0, its value is 3 by 2. And cos 2x when x tends to 0, its value is 1. So value of the entire limit is product of these two values, 3 by 2 into 1, which is 3 by 2. So we can safely say our answer comes out to be 3 by 2. That's a straight away simple example to illustrate how do we use those results. Sin 3x upon sin 2x we have just learned. Sin ax upon sin bx when x tends to 0 is a by b. In this case sin 3x upon sin 2x when x tends to 0 is 3 by 2. And cos 2x when x tends to 0 is 1. So cos 2x when x tends to 0 is 1. So we multiply the value of these two limits. Now since two different functions are given a product, so we evaluate their limits separately and multiply. This is one of the basic simple algebraic rules which we learn in initial slides. So cos 2x, x tends to 0 is 1, sin 3x upon sin 2x, x tends to 0 is 3 by 2. So we multiply 3 by 2 into 1. So we get our answer as 3 by 2. Let's take question 10 from the handout. It says sine cube a theta upon theta, then sine square b theta. Now power also there in the expression, and theta tends to 0. We have to give the values. Sine cube a theta upon theta into sine square b theta. So question is sine cube a theta upon theta sine square b theta. Here sine are to the different parts, angle also different. So if we use the result sin ax upon sin bx is equal to a by b, we'll be using this result. Now it gives us, we can write in the numerator, it's sine cube a theta, we divide by a theta cube and multiplied by a theta cube the numerator. First of all, we have to find the limit of this function p fx upon gx. So we are finding limit of fx in the numerator and limit of gx in the denominator, and then whatever the values which we are getting, we will multiply those values to get our result. First of all, second, numerator was sine a cube theta, so we multiply in numerator alone, a theta cube, a theta whole cube, a theta whole cube, we multiply and divide the numerator. In denominator we had 1 theta given in the question, and then it's sine square b theta, so we multiplied by b theta whole square in the numerator. In the denominator we multiply by b theta whole square and divide it also. So our expression resembles sine a theta upon a theta when theta tends to 0, so a theta also tends to 0. That value can be simply says can be as 1. It leads to 1. So sine cube a theta upon a theta whole cube when theta tends to 0, this entire value will come to 1. So we had a theta cube left in the numerator. If we carefully look in the denominator, there was 1 theta apart from the bracket. Then sine square b theta upon b theta whole square can be written as sine b theta upon b theta whole square. Now when theta tends to 0, this bracket will become 1. So we had 1 theta left in the denominator as well as b theta whole square, that is b square theta square also there in the denominator. We are using a simple result. Now, can we safely say what we are left in the numerator? Theta cube in the numerator, theta cube in the denominator. Now that theta cube will cancel out. Theta cube will cancel out in the numerator as well as denominator. So we are left with only a cube in the numerator and b square in the denominator. So our expression leads, this final value comes out to be a cube upon b square. That we call as value of the limit. So we applied a simple divide the function in numerator as we find the value of the limit of the numerator as well as the denominator. So a cube upon b square. And if we carefully look at the choices, we had our choice as a cube upon b square as choice B. So sine cube a theta upon theta sine square b theta. So we made the same angle in the numerator, we multiplied by a theta whole cube as well as divide the numerator by a theta whole cube. And in the denominator we multiplied by b theta whole square and also divide by b theta whole square, and there was 1 theta surplus given in the denominator. So sine cube a theta upon a theta whole cube becomes 1 when theta tends to 0, and sine square b theta upon b theta whole square also tends to 1 when theta tends to 0. So in the numerator we are having a cube theta cube, in the denominator we are having theta cube b square. Now this theta cube will cancel out because it is not equal to 0, we can cancel it out. So what we are left in the numerator? A cube. What we are left in the denominator? B square. So our value comes out to be a cube b square, which is given as choice B. Choice B is the answer. Yes. Let's try question 12 of the handout. It says limit x tends to 0 plus. 0 plus means we are approaching 0 from right hand side towards positive sides. It says tan x upon mod x. and options are given as 1, 0, 5 does not exist. Now limit tan x upon mod x when x tends to 0 plus from right hand side. Now since x is greater than 0, can we safely say mod x value is always x, because we are putting positive value inside the mod. So mod will give the value as it is. Mod x when x greater than 0 is x. So our expression of the limit simplifies to an extent. It comes limit tan x upon mod x when x tends to 0 plus. Tan x upon mod x when x tends to 0 plus is ultimately tan x upon x when x tends to 0. Now, this is a standard result we have learned. Tan x upon x when x tends to 0. Now this value is 1 for sure, we know. Its value is 1. It's a standard basic formula we have. Now since x is from right hand side, positive side, so from right hand side mod x, when we are putting value of x as positive, mod x will gives us x. So our whole expression reduces to tan x upon x when x tends to 0 from right hand side. And tan x upon x by formula we know its value comes out to be 1. So we say value of the expression given limit x from right hand side towards 0 is nothing but tan x upon mod x is 1. And we had also a choice. It's choice A. Now please be careful, he had asked the value from right hand side, that is 0 plus. So we had given the value of the same, that is 1. In this case it comes out to be. Yes. Now sixth, limits at infinity and infinite limits. How do we solve these methods? It says, suppose we have to evaluate limit of 3x square plus 8x minus 7 upon 2x square minus 5x plus 6, x is tending to infinity. If we directly put x equal to infinity, it's an indeterminate form, infinite by infinite. So this type of limits are evaluated by dividing both the numerator and denominator by the highest power of x. This type of limits are evaluated by dividing both the numerator and denominator by the highest power of x, that is dividing numerator and denominator by x square, because x square is the highest power in the numerator as well as denominator. So when you divide, it's become 3 plus 8 by x minus 7 by x square in the numerator, 2 minus 5 by x plus 6 by x square in the denominator. Now we can say when x tends to infinity, 1 upon x is tending to 0, 1 upon x square is tending to 0. So 8 upon x will become tends to 0, 7 upon x square becomes tends to 0, so numerator will become 3. And minus 5 upon x will tends to 0, 6 upon x square will tends to 0, so denominator becomes 2. So our value of this expression comes out to be 3 by 2. So whenever it says x is tending to infinite, we take that value as highest power of x as common, and then 1 upon infinity or 1 upon infinity square tends to 0, so we get the value of the expression. If power is same in both numerator and denominator, highest power, then value comes out to be 3 by 2, as in this case. We are taken x square as common throughout. Yes. So whenever x tends to infinity, we try to take x square as common. Now, there are certain rules. Rule 1, it says if k and n are constants and modulus of x is positive and n is also positive, then limit x tends to infinity, k upon x to the power n. Whenever expression contains x in the denominator and x is tending to infinity, its value comes out to be 0. And limit if x tends to minus infinity, then also k upon x to the power n comes out to be 0. So from infinite or x tending to minus infinite. K upon x to the power n tends to 0. Value is modulus of x is greater than 0 and n is a positive. Rule 2. It says if the highest power of x in the rational expression is in the numerator, that means numerator is also a rational polynomial function, denominator is also polynomial expression, and highest power of x lies in the numerator, rational in the numerator, then x will remain in the numerator. So then as x tends to infinity, the value of x limit is also tends to infinity. If value of x remains after taking common for outside in the numerator, then when you substitute x equal to infinite, the value also remains equal to infinite. Rule 3, it says if the highest power of x in a rational expression, numerator and denominator are both polynomial function in x, in the denominator, if the highest power of x lies in the denominator, then when you take x common from numerator and denominator, after cancelling out x remains in the denominator, and the limit as x approach to infinity, value of the limit approach to 0, because 1 upon infinite tends to 0. So whenever x remains in the numerator, after taking the highest power common, value comes to infinite. X remains in the denominator, after taking highest power common and cancelling, value of the limit comes out to be 0 as x tends to infinity. And rule 4, the example which we have done just now, if the highest power is same in both the numerator and denominator, if the highest power is same in both the numerator and denominator, then limit is the coefficient of the highest term in the numerator divided by the coefficient of the highest term in the denominator. So if suppose x cube expression is in cubic function in the numerator as well as the denominator. So we take x cube common because x is tending to infinity, and we cancel out x cube. So what remains in the numerator is the coefficient of x cube and other terms become 0. And what remains in the denominator is again the coefficient of x cube, other term becomes 0. So it's a straight away result given. If the highest power is same in both the numerator and denominator, the limit is the coefficient of the highest term in the numerator divided by the coefficient of highest term in the denominator. 4 basic rules. Now, some important limits. Limit of f minus x when x tends to 0 is equal to limit of fx when x tends to 0 minus, negative side. Limit of ex minus 1, e is an exponential, upon x when x tends to 0 is 1. Limit of ex minus 1 upon x when x tends to 0 is 1. Limit of 1 plus x to the power 1 by x when x tends to 0 is e. One plus x is tending to 0 and power is tending to infinite, its value is e. Another form, x tends to infinite, 1 plus x, bracket mates 1 plus 1 by x is tending to 0 when x tends to infinite and power is infinite, its value is e. Point 3 and point 4 are the similar values. X tends to 0, 1 plus x to the whole power 1 by x is equal to e. 1 plus this x tends to 0, power tends to infinite, value is e. And x tends to infinite, so bracket contains 1 plus 1 by x. When x tends to infinite, 1 by x tends to 0 and power tends to infinite, value is e. Then we had limit of log 1 plus x upon x when x tends to 0 as 1. Limit of log 1 plus x upon x when x tends to 0 as 1. And sixth, limit of x tends to 0, ax minus 1 upon x is equal to log a to the base e. So its limit ax minus 1 upon x when x tends to 0 is log a to the base e. These are few standard results we have. You should remember these results. So now let's try question 5. For example of what we have learned just now. It says limit x tends to infinite. Now it's a rational expression. Numerator and denominator both contain x to the power highest power is 10. So third, we take x to the power 10 common from the numerator as well as the denominator. 30 x to the power 10 minus 10 x to the power 5 plus 100 in the numerator, and x to the power 10 plus 99 x to the power 8 plus x square in the denominator. So we take x to the power 10 common from the numerator as well as the denominator. So the expression becomes like this: x to the power 10 takes common from numerator as well as from the denominator. Now x to the power 10 will cancel out and x tends to infinite. Now 1 upon infinite is 0, tending to 0. So 1 upon x to the power 10, it's actually 30 upon when 1 will be left out. That is coefficient of highest power in numerator upon coefficient of highest power in denominator, if coefficients are same. That was rule number 4 what we have just learned. So this comes out to be 30, because x ki power 5 upon x ki power 10 is 1 upon x to the power 5, and when x tends to infinite it becomes 0, and 1 upon x to the power 10 when x tends to infinite is also 0. So remaining terms will tending to 0. So in the numerator 30 will left, in the denominator 1 will be left. So we had our result as 30 upon 1. So if we carefully look at the choices, our choice comes out to be A as 30. I hope this is clear. Thank you. Thanks.